5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is the Culture Clash.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey, it's Friday night. Where must everybody be? Here, hopefully watching the Culture Clash as we continue Mando Watch 2023. Now, of course, I cannot watch Mandalorian and talk about Mandalorian alone. I need some proper help here. I need a proper Mandalorian, but all I could get was actually just some Raider nerd. Of course, he is the wonderful, my brother from another mother, and it really is a true Mandalorian, Mr. Kevin Reitzel.
What's up? Mando Watch, or is my new t-shirt mashup, Iron Mando, like that. Check it out. I'm in the mood and I'm ready.
And how much best card did that cost you?
Oh, you don't know.
kind of figured much, especially when you get it from that guy just over down on the corner, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, dude, we're talking about some Mando, man. I'm excited. And this week, man, talking the Mines of Mandalore.
There might even be a Balrog in this episode.
What are you talking about?
Okay,
well, speaking of, we should do a spoiler alert, don't you think?
Yeah, just a little bit of a spoiler alert. So, yeah, we're going to talk all about the Mines of Mandalore and episode 2, season 3 of The Mandalorian. We got a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to Mando. And Kevin, this was an episode, to say the least.
Now, I've started a tradition, as you know, with the Mandalorian season 3. I like doing my spoilers without content, but using non-Star Wars movie and TV posters. And so I did a new one this week. Check that out. Got a little Emerald City poster, Chud, Runaway, The Abyss, Enter the Matrix, and of course the Balrog poster from Lord of the Rings.
Now, I even did give you an alternate possibility poster for this too.
Yeah, I liked yours. If I would have thought of it, I might have done it, but I thought the Abyss would have jumped more. But yeah, you had the Leviathan. I thought that was kind of cool, and you had a good poster going with that. But yeah. But there'll be more next week for the next episode. But my favorite though was the Runaway one, because I don't know if you guys remember the movie Runaway with Tom Selleck had these motorized little death spiders that would assassinate people. So yeah.
I feel like we're talking Tom Selleck a lot. Oh wait, we did, because we talked about Tom Selleck on the new episode of Time Warp, which just hit the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel today. We had a very interesting conversation about Tom Selleck in that Time Warp.
Yeah, we were covering all the 1983 films, and one of them we did was High Road to China that he did in 1983, and the almost Indiana Jones, as we kind of touched on there. So yeah.
Well, we want to thank all of you who are watching live or might watch later. This is, of course, our Culture Clash exclusive to YouTube run of Mando Watch 2023, where we cover the episodes of The Mandalorian as they air this season. Of course, every Friday night at 8 p.m. Kevin and I will be here. We might even have a few guests popping in and out too as we go along. And then, of course, too, you can follow up later in the week with our good friends over at What a Piece of Junk, because they give their own spin on what's going on not only with The Mandalorian but with the Bad Batch as well.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Joseph. He's in the chat there. Oh, look at David Lozano's in the house. What's up, buddy?
What is up, Star Wars stuff? So, Kevin, I think, we need to get right into this because we got a lot to talk about with this episode. Do you want to give us a little plot synopsis of the Mines of Mandalore?
Oh, yes, I can definitely do that. I'm excited for this. All right, so here we go. Little episode plot synopsis for Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 18, right?
Yeah, 18.
Yes, all right. Din Djarin visits Peli Motto on Tatooine during the Bunta-E Festival in search of a new memory chip for IG-11. She does not have one, but instead sells him R5-D4. Djarin and Grogu and R5 fly to Mandalore, and Djarin orders R5 to scout ahead and ensure that the atmosphere is non-toxic. When R5 does not return, Din ventures after it and is attacked by several Alamites, a native troll-like species living in the caves. Heading deeper into the mines, Din is captured by a cyborg creature and sends Grogu for Bo-Katan's help. Katan rescues Djarin and kills the cyborg before leading Din into the living waters. Din begins to recite the creed and restore himself as a Mandalorian. However, a sudden drop-off causes him to sink deep into the water. Katan dives in to save him, and on the way back, comes face-to-face with the Mythosaur. The Mythosaur!
Welcome to Mythosaur Park. now, Kevin, first and foremost, the most important thing out of this episode, do we feel like Din Djarin might have a complex after watching Bo-Katan just wield the Blacksaber like a champion?
You know, he is still fighting against that thing, and she has not lost a beat with those cool little like force field arm gauntlets she had going on. She knows how to use that dark saber, and I don't know why he's struggling with it for so long, but I think it's more of a mental thing for him. That's what I'm thinking, because he seems to be fighting against it. It's really funny.
Well, speaking of mental, Kevin, what were your initial thoughts after watching this episode?
Mental, huh? I freaking love this episode, man. It was so cool. We've been wanting to know what happened with Mandalore, and we got a big idea, big taste. Life is still there. It's not as toxic as they thought, and there, of course, is the ruins of Mandalore as well. But I think a couple of the cool things is that we really got a good showing with Bo-Katan in this. And I think we needed to see her kind of give a little exposition as she did to Grogu and, of course, to Din about, what's going on with her and her history. But also, I love Pelimoto, dude. And we'll get into that more a little bit later with R5. I think that was really cool. But I like the fact that R5 is now possibly part of the family, because now he can fly the ship when need to, and whether it's on autopilot or R5 autopilot. I think that's kind of cool. And I think David Lozano agrees with me here. He says this was Bo's episode to shine, and I absolutely agree. What about you? What are your first impressions, Kyle?
Can I say surprised? Because I'm really surprised at how far we went into the story with this episode. I was not expecting us to already be on Mandalore finding the living waters and Din bathing in the living waters. I thought we'd at least have an episode or two, maybe where he was trying to find the chip for IG-11, and a little bit more building of making going to Mandalore more of the epicness of, like, that's what the season is to build to, is getting to Mandalore. So I was really surprised that we got to Mandalore already and got as far as we did with it. And not that I'm complaining, it was an excellent episode, but that part kind of surprised me. There was a lot of fun again in this week's episode, and obviously some very interesting creatures, which we're going to talk about a little later. But there was something for everybody of a Star Wars fan in this, because you can get your Bo-Katan fix with some Clone Wars and Rebels things with her. Obviously your Mando with Din and Grogu was great in this episode, and even a little bit of original trilogy showing up, Kevin. We got R5D4.
Yes, don't just leave it there and not say anything. Yes, R5, and we're going to get into R5 in a minute, but I want to give a shout out to Joseph. He says that thing robot with the eye reminded him of General Grievous. And also, too, I want to give you're right, it did, and among other things, but I also want to give a shout out to Joseph, because he also found a behind the scenes kind of cut scene here, and I wanted to share this here of the Mandalorian. Wanted to showcase that there, because for some reason they cut that from last week's episode. Kyle, why do you think that is?
I'm thinking they had some serious digital effect problems with Grogu in that scene. Somebody must have really poured some kind of substance on the computer or something like that. And I'm telling you what, right now, I've heard there's even a recall on some Grogu dolls now. So
Kevin is canon, baby. Yes, that's right. Thank you, Joseph. That was hilarious. That made me laugh out loud. Made the edit floor. Yeah. Oh man, you know what's interesting too is I feel like I haven't felt like these two episodes have, you know, one was like this was a good episode, and the other one was a great setup episode, but still a lot happened in the first episode, and I feel like, and this one was a little bit longer. I don't know if you notice that, Kyle. If you're not
Yeah,
counting
it was.
the
I think it was
credits,
about 15 minutes longer.
I'm gonna go maybe 10 minutes, but yeah, I think that you were kind of feeling it too because there was a lot to go on and a lot to cover with Mandalore, and so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next. And the cast was great too. You know, we'll get into that in a second here, but we do have some trivia. Should we go into trivia?
I think we should need to do a little trivia here. I think
right.
I think we should tease the minds of the listeners. You got some trivia, Kevin. You are the quiz master of the Fandom Podcast Network.
And I'm right here. David says 0 fat on both these first episodes. Lean and mean. I love it. Yes. All right, so we got a couple things here. Din and Grogu walk through the ruined Mandalore capital city of Sundari. This is an Easter egg to Star Wars: The Clone Wars 2008, in which Sundari appeared multiple times. It was featured significantly in the Clone Wars Season 7, which told the story of the Siege of Mandalore, an invasion by Republic forces with the goal of overthrowing Darth Maul. And remember how we noticed that Grogu's been able to jump around a lot. Jump around. He force jumped into Pelly's arms, prompting her to ask, "Now, who taught you how to leap like a lerman?" Huh? The lerman are a small monkey-like species seen in Star Wars: The Clone Wars Jedi Crash in 2009. They are indeed extremely agile, and in fact, at least one lerman was force sensitive, so it's quite possible some boost in their natural agility to the force. And many people may have caught this. Bo-Katan is attacked by the Alamites. Bo regularly uses her Mandalorian hollow shield during the fight, the same shields she used throughout Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. The shields are emitted from a gauntlet worn by Mandalorians and can withstand a fair amount of punishment. And the Alamites are a pale underground opponents, are an homage to the Morlocks from H.G. Wells' novel The Time Machine, especially a theatrical version of The Time Machine 1960. They basically look the same, behave the same, also live underground, but are slightly bigger and have 4 eyes instead of just 2. Otherwise known as Chud, cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. Good movie.
Oh, now we know we got that. And I gotta say, the Morlocks that were portrayed in the newer version of The Time Machine with Guy Pearce, a little bit better looking than I think those 1960s Morlocks, but I think not quite as good as these guys who were inspired by the original 1960s Morlocks.
And what's up with, like we talked about, Din not being able to use that sword very well, as in the Book of Boba Fett 2021. Din struggles to use a lightsaber according to the armor. It's because he tends to fight against the blade. This concept was first set up in Star Wars Rebels 2014 when the Darksaber was used by another Mandalorian named Sabine Wren, who claimed the Darksaber was heavier than she expected. Now, this was kind of cool, Kyle. I love that there's a reference to Boonta Eve in this. And, of course, Boonta Eve was first introduced in Star Wars Episode 1 of Phantom Menace, 1999. It's during this holiday that Mos Espa hosts its annual pod race, the same one Anakin won to earn his freedom from Watto. But apparently, in this episode, they are racing speeders, which I kind of like better, Kyle, because we've seen so many different speeders, including the Naboo speeders, the one that she's trying to like pull the little heist on, not heist, but against the Rodian in the beginning of this episode. I like the fact that we saw some speeders racing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I like the fact that it was speeders because we just recently also had that episode of Bad Batch which had speeder racing in it as well. So actually getting a little tie in there is kind of nice. I got David Lazan saying you got to go with the flow with the Darksaber. Just ride the wave, man.
With the flow, bro. I mean, seriously, it's not that heavy. I mean, I can lift it. Mine. I mean, what's wrong with it? Oh, Jesus.
Kevin's wife might have problems in the future. I'm just saying.
It is heavy.
Yeah. I tried to tell you.
One more trivia. At one point, a chance cube is mentioned. That's what Pelly says regarding getting the parts for IG-11 to Mando. To Tatooine, too furious.
So wait, what you're saying is Vin Diesel's going to be in the next Star Wars? That Fast 11 takes place in a galaxy far, far away.
That was funny. That was a good one. Yeah, and by the way, of course, the chance cube was used in with Qui-Gon and Watto in Episode 1. But then it says technically chance cubes were first introduced in a single shot of Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, hanging from the cockpit of Millennium Falcon, but weren't referred to as such. I don't know if they were considered chance cubes because those are a little bit different than Han's dice. But I'm just going to go with that though. So there's some trivia for you.
We have been given the questions and the answers in this week's trivia, but it is time to get into our main topics about what Kevin and I kind of stood out for Kevin and myself in this week's episode of The Mandalorian. So, Kevin, topic 1 is something that you have been championing for a while. I'm right there with you on this, but I'm truly starting to think that Pedro Pascal is filming other shows while Mandalorian is being filmed. But is he cheating on Grogu? That's what I'm saying.
This is an appreciation topic for Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder. Believe it or not, guys, most of the time we see Mando, it is not who you think it is. It's not Pedro. Most of the time, it's either Brendan Wayne or Lateef Crowder underneath that helmet. And this is not a bad thing. These guys are great guys. They're actors as well. And Lateef Crowder, he is actually the fight stunt guy who does all the cool fighting and stuff like that. And then Brendan Wayne does the rest of it, though. But I just want to give a shout out to these guys. And there's a great picture here. Both of them with Pedro and both of them with in partial costume anyway. And both stand-ins, stunt doubles, Pedro Pascal are credited as major actors in this episode. Kyle, if you guys watch this episode, they get credit, which I thought was great. And without stating who they play, which is unusual, chances are that they all play Din scenes, and Pascal only provides a voiceover due to the engagement with the Last of Us series. So it's kind of a cool job for Pedro, because he can come in and just do the voices, and then for any helmet removing scenes, he removes his helmet. But it's a clever way to do the show because, it gives Pascal the freedom to basically kind of do what he wants. What are your thoughts on these guys?
These guys are phenomenal. Lateef Crowder is one of the best action stuntman in Hollywood. He did some incredible fight scene work in and I believe it was Men in Black International, the one with Chris Hemsworth. But he's phenomenal.
Book of Eli as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something else that he did that I think I remember seeing. I can't remember, but yeah, he's done. He was in Furious 7 there as well. Captain America: Civil War, Wonder Woman, and he was also one of the characters in one of the vampires, I believe, in Twilight. I think he's actually was seen as one of the villains, if I remember correctly.
Kevin, I've come to the point where I think everybody was a vampire in Twilight at some point.
It's true, yes.
But as we're talking about this, I realized we need something in our lives, Kevin. We need like a behind the actor studio of Ellie and Grogu talking about traveling with Pedro. Just a whole episode of those two telling stories.
That'd be fun.
Stories.
Yeah. No, but I think, I don't, Joseph says, I've always wondered this. So do the stunt doubles get paid more than? That's a good question. I'm sure they get something more than probably a stunt performer was, but I don't know. That's a good question. But, when you think about it, the swagger comes from someone, and maybe the swagger comes from John Wayne's grandson. So Brendan Wayne.
Well, wait. Right Bryce Dallas Howard was a vampire in Twilight.
It's true. Yes.
Thank you, David Lozano.
All right, but anyway, I want to give some love to these guys because you are seeing them a lot more than you think they are.
Excuse me. I do think these guys are probably getting paid on a pretty high scale for this because I think they spend more time in the suit than Pedro does. Obviously, Pedro's the voice and the man when the helmet is off, but I think these two probably knowing Jon Favreau are getting paid very fairly for their work on this show.
I hope so. Yeah. So, but if not, they're making convention appearances and they're getting paid there. So there you go.
So topic 2 is one I think, Kevin, you and I both agree on is a very interesting thing going on in Mandalorian right now. And that is a clash of the Mando creeds. We, of course, have the diehard Mandalorian creed. This is the way. Do you ever remove your helmet? And you have this more skeptical, maybe just kind of stop believing in that, and they're kind of just like thinking it's caused the downfall of Mandalorian. The anti-creed views of Bo-Katan, who is definitely got some issues, not only with that, but with just the fact of being she was part of the royal family. But it was very interesting in this episode to hear the conversations between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin, and it almost felt like, I don't know, to me at some points, Bo kind of had a bit of respect for Din Djarin that she didn't have before.
Yeah, the way
up on that.
Yeah, definitely, and I was picking up on some other things too, but we'll get to that later. I think that she is also getting a respect more of him because of who's surrounding him. Because I think that someone like Grogu, who is pledged himself towards, Din and vice versa, she sees that. The fact that he's a Force user too, and working with Din is another thing. And that was a neat little conversation. She was one-sided, of course, with Grogu. But I think the fact that she saw him, use his beliefs before he enters the water, and then also mention that what are we without a creed? We're fractured. We're scattered like stars in the galaxy, and I think that she needed something from someone like him to maybe get her, not necessarily to believe what he believes, but just believe in a cause that maybe they can share together. And I've got some topical trivia here regarding this, is that while Mando is giving Grogu a lesson in astro navigation, he points out that Mandalorian moon called Concordia, which was first introduced in the Clone Wars. It's where Mando was raised by the Children of the Watch as a foundling. And also, Bo-Katan makes a mention of her family during the prequel era. The Kryze clan was the royal family of Mandalore. Bo-Katan recalls taking the Mandalorian creed while her father looked on, making him proud as she did not embarrass him. The comment is an interesting one because it could imply she considers Bo-Katan's sister Duchess Satine an embarrassment. She was a pacifist and friend of the Jedi who even gave Obi-Wan Kenobi the nickname Ben. I think that too, that when she saw, because she's basically giving a little history tour of this area, even that plaque that was down there by the living water. But there's something that I think clicks inside her when she sees Din making that oath. Your thoughts?
I think there is. I think the whole experience of being back on Mandalore, seeing some of these traditional things buried in, and seeing that Mandalore isn't completely poisoned and destroyed, I think it kind of hits some emotional things here. But there's one other thing, not just Bo getting kind of back with some Mandalorian roots here. I love this, where you see in this episode Din teaching Grogu some ways of the Mandalorian, talking about having to know where you are and the maps, and a Mandalorian always knows where they're at. And dropping little things to Grogu as well as he teaches him some Mandalorian ways as well. And I really like that moment. And it kind of gave you that Grogu Din father-son almost feeling a little bit as well.
Yeah, agreed. They had some good moments in this. And the fact that Grogu has got the controls down on his little little carrier, I think is great. He's like, especially when he gets the hell out of that to go, help rescue and get Bo-Katan, and how he gets out of those caverns really quickly. And I thought that was kind of cool. So, yeah. But this is going to be an interesting theme going forward. These two clans and their differences. I don't know if we're going to get to a point to where I think the bigger question is Bo Bo and Din can actually work together and unite this, because they have to do this together. I think that we had thought about maybe Bo being an enemy fighting against the Darksaber. She had the chance to take it, but she didn't. He got it back, and so I don't know. I'm kind of turning back around that they're kind of seeing a mutual respect for each other, I think, because especially when Din was mentioning, how he was liking the stories about hearing about her father.
Yeah, I think in your case, Kevin, too, you might be checking out some occasional glances and stuff like that too. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But no, I think it's very important too with this is the fact we're seeing the respect, even with everything Bo-Katan has been through, that she has for the past of Mandalore in a way, and that it's still, even though she's put in this armor around her, so to speak, when it comes to Mandalore and the ways of the Mandalorian, you can see there's cracks in that armor. And so maybe as the season progresses, we see some kind of new creed that's born out of these two old creeds come together. It's going to be very interesting to see how this goes.
I want to give a shout out to my buddy Blair there in Brisbane. What's up, buddy? Good to see you.
What's up, Blair?
And I was wondering this too. David says, where does the Pran go in the N1 Starfighter? There's somewhere up there. You got to kind of just go with it. Maybe it's kind of like the TARDIS. There's more room inside than you think there is. So I don't know. David said, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you had David's comment, but I think this ties into David's comment. Talking about Bo, she's studying him so she could win the Darksaber from him. While David says one could argue she won the Darksaber in combat versus One-Eye Willie. So,
yeah, I heard that. That's true. Like that, I don't know. I think that he didn't really win it. I mean, he just kind of tossed it, So yeah. I don't know. I think there has to be an official fight or something like that. So anyway.
or unless Sabine just hands it over, when she's allowed. Sabine's apparently allowed to just do that.
But man, I'll tell you though, she looked badass when she was fighting that guy.
Oh yeah. Between the shield and the way she was welding that black saber, it's like riding a bike. Muscle memory. It's just right there. Just go with the flow, Bo. Go with the flow.
All right, what do we got next? Topic number 3, guys. This is the one we all want to talk about.
Well, Kevin, there's something alive down here. Is that a mythosaur?
It's a mythosaur, baby.
So I just have to say this. There was all kinds of creatures in this episode. We had the Alamites, which I think were used to kind of help Bo realize that there was still life on Mandalore, because she was talking about how they survived the Empire's attacks. Maybe other creatures or people have too. Then we've got the crazy One-Eyed Willie, Bionicle, whatever the heck, Matrix thingy, that drone, whatever that was. But I think the thing all of us are talking about is, first of all, Din, maybe you should check that water depth before you just step right in. And 2, that was a freaking mythosaur. And it was a really big mythosaur, Kevin.
Yeah, it was. And I'm just glad that we got a little tease there, because the mythosaur and the Mandalorians go hand in hand. Of course, we got a tease. We got a mythosaur mentioned in season 1 with the Ugnaught. And, we've been wondering, where and how, and are we going to see him ride one,
Kevin, so I'm gonna call timeout right there, because I was gonna bring up this and I want to see what you think. You remember how he said he had to prove he had bathed in the living waters?
Yes.
What better way to prove it than to have the armorer and her followers show up on Mandalore, and he kind of comes up riding the mythosaur?
That would be pretty badass. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking if that doesn't get you back in the club, nothing will.
Yeah, you gotta tame that bad boy though, don't you? I mean, yeah. But you mentioned. I just want to mention that you mentioned some other creature. You mentioned that weird robotic creature guy. Joseph says, kind of reminds us a little bit of General Grievous. I was thinking kind of like the sentience and was it Matrix? And
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool that the head could detach and then like crawl away and then get on another body. I thought that was pretty cool.
You know what it kind of reminded me a little bit of too was the new version of the robot from the new Lost in Space that was on
Netflix. Yep. I mean, there was just some really cool moments in this thing, and I like that we got sulking Bo here, but then she kind of like, you know what? Maybe this. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Din's an awesome dude, you know.
Okay, Kevin, I got to ask a question. You already know what my answer is because it's my answer every time automatically. Blonde Bo-Katan, redheaded Bo-Katan.
I'm sorry, you cut out there. What?
I said, dude.
Speak up, Kyle.
Blonde Katie Sackhoff or redheaded Katie Sackhoff?
I'm liking the redheaded Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All right, so we have a fun factor moment that we like to throw in these episodes. What was fun about this episode, or what did you get out of it? We got one for me and then one for you, Kyle. We'll get into that a little bit later. Sorry. First, I guess I should go first in this, right, Kyle? I guess.
Can I say things might get a little mushy, ladies and gentlemen? Kevin needs some romance in his life.
Okay, I put a thing on Facebook. I want more romance in Star Wars, guys. I mean, the last time we had romance really was in the original trilogy. And for those of you that know, there was romance within the Legends books, before they were called Legends. Even in the comics, Mara Jade and Luke Skywalker got married. I want something to happen between these two. I think it'd be really, really cool, and I don't know why there can't be no love, Dr. Jones in Star Wars now. I mean, come on. Is it so hard to kind of do something with that? They didn't even like really brush it up against it in the sequel trilogy. I think they tried, but then they were like, no. So I don't know. And Blair hates this.
Well, no. Ladies and gentlemen, let it be known that there was probably a time at some point when Lucasfilm may have been up for sale before Disney bought it, that Kevin was pushing hard for the Hallmark Channel to buy the rights to Star Wars.
Hey, you know what? Whatever works. Let's get them together. Start their own creed. Have some Mando babies. I don't know. What do you think, Kyle? I mean, let me just put it this way. There was something there, little looks, something there. Respect is being, I think with Mando too, respect really has to be earned with him, especially if you save his life. But I mean, come on, he's like the hot single dad. He's got the cool car. He's got the cool kid that uses Force. He loves his kid. He's got, he's got swagger. He's probably even a virgin. I mean, come on.
He ain't got, as you said, ain't got no time for love, Dr. Jones. I got creed things to take care of. Yes, I think a lot of those glances were of a mutual respect and a curiosity between the two, but I ain't feeling the love, Kevin. I don't think love is in the. It's kind of like the Jedi. They're not supposed to love, but the Mandalorians. This is the way, man. You got to keep those helmets on. And
keep one thing in mind. Okay, Grogu went against the Jedi creed of attachment, and it seems like the Mando here might be changing his views. So we'll see what's going on.
Kevin, come on. I'll tell you what. Next episode of The Mandalorian, we'll go back to Tatooine, and we can have Pelimoto's Jawa dating episode.
Fine. Okay. Just you have a dead cold heart. Fine. What do you got? What do you got for fun in this episode?
All right. Fun in this episode actually involves some Pelimoto. I got to ask you something, Kevin. After we talked last night getting ready for the show, I was thinking about Amy Sedaris here, and I was thinking about how it's interesting to see her as this character after watching Clerks 3. Where she played the doctor in Clerks 3, and the conversation she had with Randall in Clerks 3.
Don't make me guess, and don't let the listeners guess, Kyle. What did they say?
No, they were having all kinds of conversations about Star Wars and the Mandalorian, and and of course in Kevin Smith's own way, they cut loose in all kinds of language and things that I will not repeat because we are a live show and we try to be family friendly, but. It makes me see Pelimoto in just a little bit different way. She's really a freak, and it's all good. But she's our favorite because not only is she a master mechanic, and she obviously knows how to just work the angles with stealing speeder parts with Jawas and selling them back to people, but she brought back one of the classics, one of the original trilogy droids, the great R5D4, and he's obviously had some improvements to his motivator since we last saw him, Kevin.
Yeah, I think this is great, guys. I want the chat jump in here on R5D4. I love the fact that we were first introduced to R5D4 earlier in the Mandalorian seasons with Pelimoto, in that he's always been on Tatooine, and apparently then he's helped with the rebellion, according to her. But I got a little bit of topical trivia here. R5D4 was introduced in the first Star Wars film, of course, as one of the droids seen in the Jawa Sand Cruiser. Ray Carson's The Red One, published in the anthology book From a Certain Point of View, revealed R5 deliberately sabotaged his own motivator because he believed R2-D2 needed to be sold to the Lars family. There have indeed been reports and books that he then served in the Rebel Alliance, although Pelimoto could be overstating his significance. Without R5, Luke Skywalker and R2-D2 would have never met. And also in Legends, R5 was actually given a much more honorable backstory than just being a piece of junk. A non-canon, even back then, comic book story by Peter David and Martin Englund for the Dark Horse anthology Star Wars Tales reimagined R5 as Skippy the Jedi droid, a valiant hero who sacrificed himself so that R2 could teach Obi-Wan, or could reach Obi-Wan with Princess Leia's message.
So truthfully, without R5D4, none of this is happening. Where R5D4 is responsible for the everything.
Are you saying he's the real hero of the Star Wars Skywalker saga? Because if that's what you're saying, Kyle, I'm buying it.
He feels it in his motivator.
I just think it's cool, too, that he can actually be part of the N1 starfighter and help pilot the ship when need be. And Mando can just go to sleep and hug little baby Yoda. And, you know, R5 can just do that, you know? I mean, come on. Yeah, as David says, in other words, R5 is the key to everything. I love it.
So is R5 more of a hero than R2-D2?
In a way, yes.
Now, okay. I do have a question about this, though. You don't think Grogu might be just a little bit upset he lost his sunroof viewing room because of R5?
I can see where you're going with that, but you know what? He's got a nice warm lap on Mando. Come on.
And he's obviously still has some kind of compartment in that starfighter. I don't know if he's like laying underneath R5 or what's going on there.
Yeah, well, if he can travel from where Mando's sitting to his little compartment there, there's all kinds of funny stuff going on there in that ship. So, yeah.
With that, sir, it kind of wraps up some of our thoughts on this episode of The Mandalorian. It was another great episode, but you know what? We do something here on these special edition Culture Clash Lives. We bring the hot takes. And both last week I had one involving Star Wars, but Kevin and I both have hot takes. But I'm going to start with mine because it's relevant to an upcoming event this weekend that I think it's a very interesting time for, Kevin. Would you care to put on the screen what I'm going to be talking about?
Would that be this one?
No.
Oh, I know what
We're
you're
saving
talking
that for
about.
later.
Okay, how about this? The Oscars!
The Oscars. Now, if you are longtime listeners to Culture Clash, you know for a very long time, Kevin and I had a episode before the Oscars where we made our predictions and would go up against each other. However, over COVID and the fact that the Oscars have really not been throwing out the best of picks for movies these last few years, the question has become, Kevin, are the Oscars even relevant anymore? And I think this is the year that the Oscars start to return to relevancy. And why might that be, Kyle? Because the Oscars are actually
Whoa. Hold on. Why might that be, Kyle? Setting you
because
up
the Oscars are actually including things that are popular again. When we look at Best Picture, Avatar: Way of the Water, Top Gun: Maverick, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, which seems to be the front runner for possibly even winning Best Picture. You have Elvis, which was a very popular movie. All Quiet on the Western Front was actually pretty well recognized on Netflix. Not everything is going to be everybody's thing. Tar is a movie I have no interest in, but I know it's getting a lot of love in certain circles. We look at even the director. We've got Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert as for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Steven Spielberg for the Fablemans. We know our good buddy Daniel is from Everything Everywhere All at Once. You have Michelle Yeoh being nominated for Best Actress, which people are rooting for. Our buddy Short Round is also nominated for this. Austin Butler, Brendan Fraser, Bill Nighy, Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Ke-Huy Quan, Barry Keoghan, Brian Tyree Henry, Judd Hirsch. Names people know: Kate Blanchett, Ana de Armas, Michelle Williams, Michelle Yeoh, Angela Bassett, first ever actress nominated for a Marvel film and should win the award. You have Jamie Lee Curtis getting nominated as well. Kevin, names we recognize, movies we actually know and have seen. This is something we haven't had in the Oscars for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think COVID for me really kind of made me not interested in a lot of the award stuff, because the theater going experience was devastated, and so everything was streaming, and and then there was just so much stuff that came out. I feel like it was just tough to latch on to stuff, and so much stuff was nominated that I didn't care about or wanted to see. I felt like they weren't making movies for me, for us nerds. They were making movies for artsy fartsy people. I don't know. Anyone else feel the same about that?
Yeah, I think it's curious, but I think we are seeing it switch around. I think we are. Kevin, you and I have talked about 2023 being the year we get back to the movies, and I think more importantly, Kevin, too, the Oscars are back in a theater, not spread out across the world, and we have a legitimate host in Jimmy Kimmel. Now, I know Jimmy Kimmel might not be everybody's cup of tea, but at least he knows what he's doing when he's hosting the Oscars.
I love Jimmy Kimmel. He should be the Billy Crystal. Go on for like 10 years. Let's have him do it.
I'm right there with you. I'm a big fan of
Jimmy
Kimmel. So my big vomit from our orbit is this is the year the Oscars return to relevancy. Now, Kevin, last week you really didn't have any big hot topics you wanted to take, but this week I know you have some very intriguing hot topics.
Where is my Star Wars movies? That's my vomit. Come on. We just got recent news. We'll get into this in a second. Now is a good time to take some chances. If they're going to cut budgets on things, just do a one-shot film. Pick a nice little genre, do it. Let someone take some chances and have fun and do it. But just get people that know the world and can understand it, and just have a good writer do some fun with it. Just stay away from the main characters and do something brand new. When you deal with main characters, like from the Skywalker thing, it's a different thing. You got to stick with a certain formula, which didn't happen for me with the sequel trilogy. But I'm just saying, I need a Star Wars movie. I need to see it on the big screen. You know what I would also like? I wouldn't mind seeing, the past movies on the big screen. Release them. Just give us something until you do something. And Kyle, we got news tied into this.
Yes, we do. In fact, it's time for a little fandom news.
Hold on real quick. I just want to mention, David, here, I completely agree with you. I will never forgive the Academy for giving Annie Hall the Oscar over Star Wars. Oh, my God. I so agree with you there.
So, some interesting news following up on what you're feeling, Kevin, because there was a bit of a shakeup in Star Wars movie news. Now, I have said for a while, it feels like Star Wars movies are like Oprah Winfrey. You get a Star Wars movie, you get a Star Wars movie, you get a Star Wars movie. And a lot of this felt like it was happening, especially when Bob Chapek was running things at Disney. Well, Bob Iger is back. if you've noticed on the Marvel side, things are even kind of slowing down. They're pumping the brakes a little bit. But in Star Wars, we got some news, a little bit of a shakeup. Both Kevin Feige and Patty Jenkins movies have been shelved. I'm not necessarily thinking this is a bad thing. This next part of this, though, I have thoughts, and I don't know if they're going to be entirely popular. Taika Waititi is looking to star in his own film that he is also going to be writing and directing. I love what Taika Waititi has done, and he has been a great thing for fandom. But I think we're at the point that we have Taika Waititi overexposure. And I think right now where Star Wars is at in the movie realm and needing a strong comeback, I don't think Taika Waititi is what Star Wars needs right now with his brand of humor and his style. And I think we've just been so overexposed to it. Because, Kevin, every time I turn on my TV, I can find something that Taika Waititi has wrote, directed, or starred in, or all of the above, it feels like these days.
Yeah, it's funny, though, real quick, before I comment on Taika, and I do agree with you, Kevin Feige, I don't know what he was just going to produce a film. Mm-hmm. Since he's worked with Taika, why doesn't he help produce Taika's film? I don't understand why they're saying Kevin's film's not being done and Rogue Squadron is not being done. And, if they were going to do that during the sequel era trivia, I would have gone, no. We need like an early Wedge, Rogue Squadron type of story there. That's what we needed from Rogue Squadron. But for Taika, he's got his own style. He's got his own humor. Star Wars has a certain type of humor. I just don't want him to get too Taika on it. How kind of like when you go to, Nolan films now, he gets too Nolan-y, you know what I mean?
I'm confused.
Yeah, Tenet. I'm still trying to figure out the hell Tenet was, but I just, if he's going to do his own story and star in it as well, I hope he does it right. I just hope he doesn't get too weird with it, because there's certain formulas you need to stick to make sure it feels like Star Wars. That's my only concern. And David says in the chat there that there is a 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi announced for this year. I hope so, because I would love. That's my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, Return of the Jedi. And I did want to make a shout out to I think it was Joseph about Solo. They said people didn't like Solo. I think Solo was just unfortunately timed after the backlash of The Last Jedi. If they would have pushed Solo back to Christmas instead of keeping that May date right after 6 months after Last Jedi, I think people would have been clamoring for Solo a lot more than they did at the time. So just my opinion.
It's funny we mentioned Solo, because an add-on to this story that happened yesterday is Bob Iger spoke, and we have not heard a ton from Bob Iger since he took back over at Disney. Little bits here, but he hit a lot of things. One of the things he talked about was how he feels that, yes, the people have been priced out of the parks. They need to adjust this. Disney was meant to be for everybody to have access to it. He was there was a time a few years back, right before Iger left, Kevin, that kind of after The Last Jedi and some things, I call him falling on the lightsaber, where I think he really kind of took a blame for a lot of things that happened with the sequel trilogy, and kind of protected Kathleen Kennedy a little bit in a way, and some of the other creators there. I think he's kind of doing it again, because now he's talking about how, yes, we need to rethink how we're going to do Star Wars movies. And one of the things he brought up was most of our films have been part of a saga or a trilogy, and they've done well numbers-wise. He said, we've done 2 movies that kind of stand on their own. One did phenomenal, meaning Rogue One, and one did not so good, which he meant in Solo. And he said the whole Solo experience really made us stop and rethink how we are going to approach Star Wars movies. I don't think this is fair to Solo, because I really think there's a lot of blame to be had for why Solo went sideways. A lot of people, if you ask them now, they've seen Solo on streaming or whatever, they say they enjoy the movie.
Yeah, Solo, I just watched that recently. It is such a fun movie, and I feel that there was such a backlash with Last Jedi, that people were just like, I don't want to go see another Star Wars movie right now, because it just left a bad taste in some fans' mouth. And you need to let Star Wars kind of breathe a little bit. The one Star Wars movie a year was ambitious as it was, but trying to get 2 within 6 months was probably the death nail of Solo, unfortunately. And it's a fun movie. I really don't understand why more people don't enjoy that film, because I love it thoroughly. It is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of stuff to pull from it as well.
I think for me, the other thing is I look at the creative right now with Star Wars, and I think it's in a totally different place than when we were with the sequel trilogy and with Solo, and even with Rogue One. We have some now established Star Wars directors that should be in the line to be doing a Star Wars movie. I am all in right now. If you tell me tomorrow Bryce Dallas Howard is going to direct a Star Wars film, I'm there. Use the talent you've created.
Yeah, they've got a family of directors, thanks to The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and stuff like that I think that they can definitely pull from. And it also is it's also a great way to develop relationships too with directors. And I think that the question though is the writing. That's where it needs to be. And I want the writing. I don't know why they don't freaking give Filoni and Favreau a movie, unless they're going to hopefully do that with a Mandoverse movie that we might get after Ahsoka and everything, and they have a big finale, whatever. I just don't understand why they're like, let's put you guys in charge. You know what the fans want. Mando's killing it. I just don't understand. I don't get it.
I think the other thing too that's important, no matter what they do with Star Wars belongs on the big screen. I love all these shows on TV and stuff like that, but Star Wars truly was made to be on the big screen, and it needs to return home. And
I want to give a shout out to Ghostbusters Quick Response Unit here. Says, I enjoyed Solo despite the lighting being unbearably dark. It's interesting. When I rewatched it, I just rewatched it on a new 4K TV. It wasn't as dark as I remember. And you can adjust your TV, by the way.
Yeah. You can definitely make some adjustments, but we have a couple other interesting pieces of news. I will learn to talk before this podcast is over. One I'm very excited about, Kevin, and that is John Barenthal.
We like him.
We like John Barenthal. We've learned something new about John Barenthal from another podcast. We need to go watch a certain show on HBO. But John Barenthal, in my mind, is probably my favorite Punisher. I was big on Thomas Jane, but I think as far as the overall feel of the Punisher, I think John Barenthal really nailed it, both in Daredevil season 2 on Netflix and in the Netflix Punisher series. John Barenthal has confirmed, and he's even been pictures posted, he is returning as the Punisher in Daredevil Born Again. Now, normally we take these Marvel rumors with a grain of salt, but this is John Barenthal wearing the suit and confirming it, and I think this is great because I want John Barenthal to be the Punisher of the MCU, Kevin.
My dad became a fan of John Barenthal because of the movie The Accountant.
Good film. Very good film.
Yeah, he played the brother of Ben Affleck. And he's seen some other stuff that he's been into. He keeps mispronouncing his last name, which I kind of think is kind of funny. But I'm happy for this news. John was great as the Punisher. And we've had some good Punishers, I think. I'm a fan of the original Dolph film. I love Punisher Warzone as well. Brilliantly violent that movie was. Loved it. But yeah, I'm happy that we need him to return, and I hope that he gets to be the Punisher in the R-rated sense.
Yeah, I'm going to be very curious to see how that's going to play out, even if they don't have him in the R-rated sense in Daredevil Born Again, because it is a Disney Plus show. If it can lead to something more, I'm all in. I need more John Barenthal as a Punisher. But
yes,
we have one other quick news topic that Kevin and I both can kind of agree on. We're not real thrilled with, and as thrilled as we are with John Barenthal, this one not so much. If you remember back to a couple episodes of Culture Clash, we were talking about some of the things we were excited for in 2023, and one of those things Kevin and I were both excited for was the Seth Rogen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle project. The trailer has hit, and yeah, I am not feeling this, Kevin, and it's a shame because it has a phenomenal cast, but it is, I don't know what they've done with the Turtles.
Yeah, I mean, not every Turtles incarnation is for me. The original movies, of course, the original cartoons, and I loved I loved all the live action movies. 1 and 3 were my favorites. I didn't watch that. I didn't care for that Turtles mutation that they did with the other live action TV series. Wasn't a fan of that. Then there was that other like early 2000s series. I haven't seen all of those. They were okay, but it was the Nickelodeon CG animated series that I really liked a lot, including the TMNT movie too that came out in 2007. I watched those with my daughter, the TV series and the movie, and those just felt like those were a good essence of the Turtles. And then I did watch the Michael Bay produced ones. They were fun. They weren't great, but watching this new trailer for this Turtles Mutagen Mayhem, I think is what it's called. I just wasn't feeling it. I don't know if it was the personality of the Turtles themselves. I'm not a fan of that animation style, Kyle. I don't know. Is the chat seen it? I don't know, but I'm disappointed from what I've seen so far. What about you?
So, for me, I agree with you as far as the Turtles go. They just came across way over the top, goofy and silly, and at least in this trailer. The animation style, it works great for Spider-Verse. I think it works great for Spider-Verse. It's something that makes Spider-Verse unique and fun in its own right. This is not what I want from my Turtles animation. I need more of like the TMNT movie, or even give me something that looks a little bit more like the old Eastman and Laird comics.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping we were going to get. I thought we were going to get something a little more grittier, especially coming from Seth Rogen. This didn't feel like a Seth Rogen thing. I don't know. Maybe.
No. It feels like a Seth Rogen thing, but unfortunately, it's the side of Seth Rogen that sometimes drives me a little crazy, and it's what I call the pothead side of Seth Rogen. Because that's what this feels like. You remember Seth Rogen is the same guy who brought us Sausage Party.
Yeah, I mean, he has different talents. You know, I've seen his serious side. Like what was it, the one where he plays the immigrant with the pickle thing? That was kind of funny.
Yeah. The Pickle was the name of the movie.
Yeah, The Pickle. That actually was a good movie. And recently, he did a good comedy with the one with Charlize Theron. What was the one that he did? Where she's running for president, and he's like an old friend, and he's like her press secretary or whatever it is. What's it called? Oh,
I can't think. Another one of my favorite Seth Rogen roles is actually Zach and Mary Make a Porno, the Kevin Smith directed film.
Yes,
that's a very fun movie. But yeah, I'm disappointed. I was really hoping for something more here. I'm gonna put it out there. Please, somebody get the rights to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series that's been going on, The Last Ronin, and if you want a grittier, hardcore Turtles, give us that, because that series was phenomenal. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it really honored the Turtles mythology with it, and I would love to see that done in a proper, gritty, fun animation style.
Real quick, too, the movie I'm talking about is Long Shot. It actually had good chemistry with Charlize Theron. I thought it was really good. We got David Lano said that Nickelodeon's own TMNT, so it's always going to be skewed for kids. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I thought like I said, the CG animated series that lasted for like 4 or 5 seasons, that was really good. It was funny. Mm-hmm. It captured each of the characters. It got serious too. I think they killed off Splinter, if I remember correctly, later on. They even went to Dimension X, and there's some very entertaining moments with that. There's a great episode where there's different dimensions, and they met up with the original Teenage Mutant Turtle, even the black and white versions of it. It was great.
Now, normally we try to have it to where Kevin and I have both seen a few things, but I have to be honest, it's that time of year for those of you. For me, it's tax season. So the only thing I really see these days is tax returns and extensions right now. But luckily, Kevin has seen a few things. Buy it, stream it, or unsee it. Kevin, can I live vicariously through you right now?
Well, I'm just going to talk about one series that I've started streaming on Amazon. if you're a fan of Almost Famous, I recommend this series. It's called Daisy Jones and the Six, and it dropped last week on Amazon, the first 3 episodes, and today, Friday, they dropped the next 3. So there's 6 episodes out right now. It's based on the book of the same name, a popular book, and it's basically about a 70s rock group, the rise of this band called Daisy Jones and the Six throughout the 70s LA music scene. And what's fascinating about this series is that they film a lot of the stuff on location in Hollywood. They even film at the famous Whiskey A Go-Go, which I've been at. And it's about when the hippie movement music is starting to change, and the music in Southern California and Hollywood and Sunset starting to change. And it's about a band that's becoming popular, but they're missing something. And then there's this female solo artist, and they end up getting together. And it stars Sam Claflin, who people may know from The Hunger Games, and also Riley Keough, who is Elvis's granddaughter, basically. Her mother, of course, recently just passed away, but she's really, really good in this. She even sings in this as well. And it's a really good stamp in time of that music and that genre that was happening. And what I really like about this TV series is that the characters are being interviewed for a documentary years later after they've gone through their trials. And you see the dichotomy of what happens between them, what happens when they start cheating on each other because they have relationships within the band. You're starting to see that now in the first 6 episodes. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a Fleetwood Mac situation going on. And they get really, really popular when they join forces and she joins the band and the writing process and everything. And it's really well done. The music is great. The cast is great. And it just caught me in it. And I just, Erin, my wife, she's like, you should check out this show. And I ended up marathoning the first 3 episodes. So I highly recommend Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's 9 or 10 episode season, and they've already dropped 6 of them. So check it out. I highly recommend it if that's your thing.
Kevin, I do want to ask you about something that is coming out in the movie theaters this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Because we haven't really discussed this particular film, and I'm curious if you have any interest at all in that. The new Adam Driver movie 65 is coming out, opens this weekend. I'm curious, is there any interest or curiosity? Because I think it's a very interesting idea that behind this film.
What's the idea, Kyle? Let people know. What is it?
The idea is apparently Adam Driver is a part of a race that is spacefaring, and he crash lands on Earth, but it's Earth 65 million years ago. And so he's trying to protect this other survivor from the crash, a young girl, and also dealing with prehistoric Earth. I find the concept kind of fascinating, but there's just something about this film too that I'm like, is this a wait till stream it kind of movie, or do we need to see this on the big screen?
I saw a post on social media with my friend Greg, who I've known for years, and shout out to Greg Kiefer. He says he loved it because he fights dinosaurs, and dinosaurs are dicks or something like that. And there was something else he thought was kind of interesting, and it seems entertaining. I am curious. I don't know if I'm going to jump in the theater. I need to see the trailer. I think I saw a portion of it. Was it Super Bowl?
Yeah, it did have a Super Bowl trailer, yes.
Yeah, and I vaguely remember it. So I need to go back and listen to it. But I think I'd rather see Creed 3, and then there's that new Operation Something movie with the new Guy Ritchie film. I kind of want to see that too, because it's got Aubrey Plaza in it.
Scream out this week too for you Jenna Ortega fans.
No, I could care less about Scream. Yeah. For you horror fans, you go, but I'm not interested in it personally. What about you? I don't know. What do you want to see?
I'm with you. Creed 3 probably tops my list, and depending on what my work schedule is, I might go try to see that Sunday. I am curious about 65. Maybe it's a weeknight, go check it out or something along those lines. But yeah, I think Creed 3 tops it. I am actually kind of curious to see what kind of number Scream gets, because I'm curious to see how much of a Wednesday push it gets with Jenna Ortega being in it.
Well, speaking of, Jenna Ortega is hosting Saturday Night Live this weekend, so good timing.
Yeah. Another thing about Jenna Ortega too that's been going around the rumor mill, she might be cast as the daughter in Beetlejuice.
typecasting, maybe.
just a tad. Just a tad.
That movie has been in like pre-production hell for such a long time. So I don't know if that's ever gonna get off it, but yeah, that figures.
Yeah. It is what it is. But you know what, guys? I want to thank everybody for joining us here live on YouTube. Tell your friends. Culture Clash is exclusive to the YouTube channel of the Fandom Podcast Network right now while Mando Watch continues. We're working on some stuff for next week. It might be a double dose of Pedro Pascal next week. Just giving you a little bit of
we got the Last of Us season finale this weekend. So we've got some stuff to talk about next weekend.
I'm sad it's coming to an end, Kevin. It's gone by too quick.
Yeah.
It has been phenomenal. But again, thank you to everybody out there who's been listening and watching on our YouTube channel or on Facebook.
You guys,
Twitter.
all of you guys, thank you.
Tell your friends, subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a like, share us out there. We're going to be doing a lot more content on the YouTube channel going forward through this year, more live shows. Got some fun things planned there. Of course, you can find all of our audio podcasts on our master feed at fpnet.podbean.com. And of course, you can find the Fandom Podcast Network on all your major podcast catchers out there, including iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, so many others. You can visit the Fandom Podcast Network's Facebook page, where we try to cover a little bit of everything going on in the world of fandom. You can also email us directly at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Twitter at FanPodNetwork. You can find me, Kyle, on Twitter at AKyleW or on Instagram at AKyleFandom. Kevin, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_Phoenix. You can see it right there. Check it out. And of course on Facebook. Find me there as well.
You've got the screen thing down. I need more practice, apparently.
There you go.
You even got the old dot matrix printer sound going. I'm impressed. You're showing some skills today. Bo-Katan would be proud. You might actually be able to go with the flow of that Darksaber with a little more practice.
Well, this has been a fun discussion, man. Mines of Mandalore. I'm so excited for the next episode of. By the way, real quick, Kyle, I forget to watch Bad Batch because my first priority is the Mandalorian. I forget that it's like coming out the same day, and then I go back and go, oh, cool, bonus episode of Star Wars.
Yeah, I've been kind of in the same boat. In fact, I need to get caught up on the Bad Batch too. Check out some of our other great shows we got going on right now. Union Federation is covering everything Star Trek Picard Season 3, which has been absolutely phenomenal. And next to Mandalorian might be the biggest thing going on in fandom right now. So
it's so good right now. Oh my God. Yeah.
So we got it covered on all angles, both on the Union Federation and our good friends over at the BQN Network are covering all of that. We've got some fun couch potato theater stuff coming up. We've got a new episode of Time Warp out on our YouTube channel. All kinds of fun things here at the Fandom Podcast Network. But most importantly, before we close out of here, remember always respect each other and enjoy your fandom. Thank you so much for watching, guys. You were the reason why we do this. We love you all. Buy it, stream it, or unsee it. There's that too, but there's also this.